Hello and welcome to this week's Wanderlust Wednesday. My name is Karina. Many of you today were probably expecting to see Joost instead of me, but Joost had to travel to the States last minute, so you're going to have me instead. And today we're going to explore one of our flagship itineraries, one of our most popular itineraries, and it is the 8-day Rhine Getaway that starts or ends here in Basel, where I am right now. So the Rhine River is one of Europe's most important waterways and transportation routes. It's home to iconic castles and fortresses overlooking this beautiful river. Famous medieval cities are scattered all along. It's been said that no other river in the world has so many old and storied cities on its banks. There's also quite a bit of significant World War II history here and lots more to learn and experience. So let's take a look at a short video of this fascinating itinerary before we go into day-to-day details.
Our Rhine Getaway itinerary presents all the highlights of the legendary Rhine in just 8 days. Your journey begins in timeless Amsterdam. Soak in rich colours amid the stained glass of Cologne's Gothic Cathedral. Explore the mighty Ehrenbreitstein fortress that overlooks Koblenz and enjoy an evening stroll along the cobblestones of Rudesheim. With dawn comes Speyer, a quaint German town on the Rhine's west bank, where you can marvel at the architectural splendour of the city's Romanesque cathedral. Strasbourg, France follows with its timeless old town, while Germany's Black Forest region is rich in history and culture. Your voyage concludes in the pretty city of Basel, Switzerland. This is an 8-day journey from Amsterdam, the Netherlands, to Basel, Switzerland, where I am right now, or in the reverse. There are 6 guided tours that are included, and we have a vast array of optional shore excursions, so you can customize your experience in the 4 European countries that you'll visit. Our longships were designed for Europe's rivers, and most places they dock right in the heart of each town or village or city. This is a key part of the allure of river cruising. It means that you can just walk off the ship after breakfast and begin exploring each new port on your own, if you like, or on our guided excursions. And this proximity allows you to maximize your time in each new destination, of course. You will experience a new port and sometimes a new country altogether every day. Also, Viking offers pre- and post-extensions in Amsterdam, in London and Oxford. That extension I've personally been very involved in designing, in Basel and in Lucerne, all of which we'll talk about after we walk through this fantastic itinerary. So let's look at the itinerary map that outlines how you'll travel along the scenic Rhine River. We embark in Amsterdam, if that's the direction that you're traveling in, which of course is the capital and largest city in the Netherlands. You'll sail through both western Germany and eastern France. And the voyage then concludes in Basel in Switzerland, where France, Germany and Switzerland actually meet. What's also special about this itinerary is how it truly maximizes your time in Europe. In only 8 days, you'll have the opportunity to visit 4 different countries, and you'll wake up in a new destination each day. You'll experience the best of history, culture, and cuisine that we can offer of the Netherlands, Germany, France, and Switzerland. This is actually an itinerary that many of our guests come back to again and again. It's possible to take it in the spring, in March and April for prime tulip season in the Netherlands, and take it a second time in the winter on our holiday itinerary of Rhine Getaway to experience the European Christmas markets.
Our Rhine Getaway itinerary presents all the highlights of the legendary Rhine in just 8 days. Begin in timeless Amsterdam. Soak in rich colours amid the stained glass of Cologne's Gothic Cathedral. Tour the 700-year-old Marksburg Castle in Koblenz. And enjoy wine tasting in quaint Rudesheim. With dawn comes Heidelberg and its imposing city gates. Spend an afternoon exploring Speyer's Romanesque Cathedral. Strasbourg follows with a tour of the magnificent Old Town, before sailing on to the Black Forest and Basel, Switzerland.
Let's talk a bit about the Viking Way and what it means to travel with Viking on one of Europe's most beloved rivers. Onshore experiences along the Rhine will get you closer to the history, the culture, and the daily life of your destination, from Amsterdam and Cologne to Strasbourg and Basel. Our river shore excursions are offered for half or a whole day, and they'll keep you busy exploring and learning about your destinations, more so probably than an ocean voyage, which have so many sea days. An included excursion is available in all 8 ports, plus the Viking Way of exploration. The Viking Way will provide you with behind-the-scenes insights, while it allows you to immerse yourself in these destinations. So there are really 3 pillars to the Viking Way of exploring the world. First pillar we call the local life. These experiences provide fascinating insights that reveal the rhythms of daily living. Here along the Rhine, it could be a visit to Heidelberg, the city at the center of the German Romantic movement, where you can enjoy lunch with students who attend Germany's oldest university, as an example. Then the second pillar is the working world. Most of us, when we travel, like to understand how the economies in the destinations to and through which we travel tick. So on these excursions, you'll get a glimpse of the world at work, including local industries and arts and crafts. You'll see and understand local people anew, hopefully. So here we'll visit, for example, a cheese farm for an in-depth look at how one of the Netherlands' top products are made. The third pillar of the Viking way of travelling is privileged access, and we've arranged exclusive entry for our guests to discover local cultural treasures all around the world. These are experiences that are not open to the general public, and you'll not find them very easily by yourselves, but it's our great privilege to help you have these privileged access experiences. So one of the examples along the Rhine Getaway is you are allowed access to the roof of the iconic Cologne Cathedral to get a behind-the-scenes look at the restoration work being completed on this Gothic structure. We also offer pre-extension packages in the Netherlands and Switzerland, depending on which direction that you sail in. For this presentation, we'll be sailing from Amsterdam, and here you can choose between 2 nights in Amsterdam, where you can extend your journey with a trip to Amsterdam. Centrally located is where you'll be staying near key sites like the Museum Square and the Anne Frank House. So that's 2 nights in Amsterdam, or 2 nights in The Hague in Amsterdam, where you can explore the seat of power in the Netherlands and immerse yourself in a cultural melting pot, thanks to its history as the center of the former Dutch Empire's colonies. Stroll The Hague's wide boulevards and view some of the world's most treasured art from the Dutch Golden Age. Now let's take a closer look at the day-by-day of this fascinating itinerary. So on day 1, we welcome you to Amsterdam, where your voyage begins. Some of you will join us after your Amsterdam Pre-extension stay. Others will arrive in Amsterdam today. If you've arranged air travel through Viking, we'll transfer you from the airport to the awaiting river longship. And after boarding your ship and settling into your stateroom, the afternoon is yours to relax or explore the city on your own. You're docked really centrally, so it's a very easy short walk to the center of town. Depending on the time available, you may wish to visit the Rijksmuseum or the Van Gogh Museum. They are both a short walk or a taxi ride away from your ship. Then we set sail, and you enjoy the natural beauty of the Dutch wetlands in the afternoon as we sail out of Amsterdam.
Amsterdam is a delightfully eclectic destination, rich in architectural diversity, great museums, and bicycles, over 1 million of them. If you have a little extra time in Amsterdam, there are a few things you really should try to experience. I find the easiest, most relaxing way to make your way around the city is via its canals. There are 65 miles of them, and once you're on a boat, you're likely to stay on board longer than you originally intended. In the museum quarter, there's plenty to intrigue the eye. Everything from classics at the Rijksmuseum, Impressionism at the Van Gogh Museum, to the Stedelijk for contemporary works, and there's even a diamond museum. As you explore the quaint side streets, keep your eyes peeled for a Jenever sign. Inside, you'll find micro-distilleries producing variations of this Dutch specialty drink. Derived from the juniper berry, Jenever tastes a lot like gin and is certainly worth sampling. And it's really difficult to top a quiet stroll through one of the city's canal-side flower shops. The bursts of colour and smells will certainly capture your attention and is a great place to pick up some gifts for home. I find Amsterdam to be one of the friendliest cities in the world, and it's an easy place to feel like you're a local. Welcome to Viking's real Amsterdam. We can't wait to share it with you. Tot ziens!
This morning you'll wake up in Kinderdijk, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, with an ingenious network of windmills and other flood management devices. After breakfast on board, there are 3 opportunities to learn about these windmills. On our included tour, by e-bike or by vintage barge. So the included tour includes visiting the Kinderdijk windmills, which, as I mentioned, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and learn more about the technology and mechanics behind this impressive collection of 19 windmills that are still in operation today. These windmills were designed to control water levels and as water pumps to this day. Then the optional tour, which is Kinderdijk windmills and Dutch cheese making. So in addition to the historic windmills, food lovers will also enjoy visiting a cheese farm to get an in-depth look at how one of the Netherlands' top products is made. You might also spend time on the ship today, perhaps taking in a culturally enriching presentation on the Dutch Golden Age, and then enjoy lunch on board. Sailing on, by day 3, we have arrived in Cologne in Germany, the country's 4th largest city. After breakfast on board, you may choose to learn about Cologne's heritage on an included tour, where just steps away from the ship is Cologne's old town and its spectacular Gothic cathedral. For those of you who may be concerned about the pace of our walking tours, keep in mind that we offer leisurely paced tours in all ports. For our included excursion in Cologne, we offer a Cologne walking tour where you can visit the city's iconic Gothic cathedral and Germany's largest. You can learn about the city's Roman and medieval history and its flourishing Jewish community. So that was the included excursion. Then on the optional excursion, beer lovers can enjoy Cologne's beer culture and dinner. So you can sample Kölsch, which is a light, crisp beer brewed only in Cologne, and enjoy a Brauhaus dinner. Brauhaus actually means brewery, so you'll enjoy a brewery dinner.
In the 12th century, Cologne was a quiet city. That is until the day their Archbishop Reinald von Dassel brought home an incredible treasure from Italy. The bones of the biblical 3 wise men. This remarkable relic required an extraordinary home of worship, so they built on the city's most spiritual site.
The place where Cologne Cathedral stands is a very, very old place to hold services. In the year 313, Bishop Maternus do the services with the Christians. So over 1800 years, this place is used for the church.
With location in hand, the foundation stone for the Cologne Cathedral was laid. Construction progressed at an incredible pace, a rate that legend has it was due to a bet the architect made with the devil. Desperate for fame, he offered the souls of himself and his family for the cathedral's inspired drawings, but only if the devil could build it in record time. Luckily, the story goes, his wife discovered the bet and with cleverness halted the project short of completion, thwarting the devil. But the haunting silhouette of the unfinished cathedral tainted the skyline for nearly 4 centuries. It's been said the French invasion of 1794 and their use of the cathedral as a stable was key to reigniting interest in the project. Finally, in 1880, the tallest twin-spired church in the world was complete. Outside, this exquisite cathedral embodies the artistic spirit of Gothic architecture. but it's inside that the level of detail becomes nearly overwhelming.
The ceiling is so high. Cologne Cathedral has the third highest walls in the world. You have to imagine that the craftsmen work here 700 years ago with so less technical supporting systems. The working process is very painful and very impressive.
The cavernous nave with its 142-foot high ceiling easily accommodates nearly 90,000 square feet of stained glass, while providing an eternal setting in which to worship the golden reliquary of the three wise men. Exploring behind the scenes, I discovered a side of this architectural masterpiece most people miss. In the blink of an eye, you're in the midst of a hand-carved forest of spires. It's an unusual perspective, a bird's-eye view of artistic elements, where you can examine structural features like the flying buttresses supporting the enormous walls, and ponder the reason behind the cathedral's menacing characters.
There are spitting gargoyles at the edges of the cathedral. We know that those gargoyles frightened the visitors in the medieval times. Inside of the cathedral, they see all the angel figures, the gold and the paradise symbols. So the visitors, they are happy, praying and doing the services.
Stepping inside the iconic roof, I was surprised to find it's supported by what was, at the time, cutting-edge technology.
Cologne Cathedral has no wood construction under the plates of the outside. There is metal construction from the year 1855 to 1860, and is one of the biggest metal construction you can see in Europe in the 19th century.
Hidden within this jungle of iron, I came across yet another treasure. An eerie pathway barely wide enough for a single person. It encircles the heart of the cathedral at a considerable height, passing at times within inches of the beautiful stained glass, eventually leading to a vantage point very few have enjoyed, one that instantly took my breath away.
The craftsmen are still working on the cathedral. We reconstruct and restore the cathedral. 100 craftsmen work here every day, 365 days a year, and it will never stop.
Thanks to an abundance of loving care, the Cologne Cathedral has so far escaped the ravages of time and remains an architectural masterpiece certainly worth exploring. I hope you too will do what I did and immerse yourself in this Rhine treasure, listening for the stories these stones can tell.
Welcome to Koblenz. This is the midway point of our Rhine journey, and we reached the Middle Rhine. Founded more than 2,000 years ago, this traditional German country town is located at the intersection of the Rhine and the Moselle rivers. So the included tour here is Fortress of Ehrenbreitstein. So we'll take a gondola ride over the river to the hilltop fortress of Ehrenbreitstein, and we'll take in magnificent views of Koblenz. For the optional tour, we visit the medieval Marksburg Castle. We'll visit the only castle in the Rhine Valley to have never been destroyed, and it's watched over the town since the 13th century.
For centuries, Marksburg defended the Rhine at Braubach. Perched 90 meters above the water, virtually no activity on the river escaped detection. The castle dates to 1231, a time when the German Empire was split into small principalities, earldoms, and dominions. It was the High Middle Ages, a period when nearly 25,000 castles were built in Germany.
Everyone had to enclose his territory and secure it against neighbors who were perhaps not so friendly.
Gegenüber dem Nachbarn, der vielleicht nicht freundlich gesinnt war.
Marksburg was no exception. Towering over the Rhine, it was an intimidating, utterly unassailable sentinel. Even now, you can almost hear the echoes of well-trained soldiers and brave knights on horseback, relentlessly patrolling, ready to defend the castle's 4 gates. Time proved Marksburg impenetrable. With the castle's location and extreme defensive ramparts, it's little wonder that after 8 centuries, including an attack in World War II, Marksburg still stands as the only Rhine castle, never to have been conquered.
The idea of attacking Marksburg was so daunting, most armies quietly passed by. So the castle was usually defended by just 10 to 15 people during the Middle Ages.
Im Mittelalter.
Those invited into Marksburg discovered the castle was anything but opulent. Instead, life here was relatively Spartan. The original owners were the powerful Lords of Epstein, while characters like John the Belligerent and Count Johann the Warlike, who was the last aristocrat to occupy Marksburg, played a large part in shaping the castle as it exists today. While there are no ghosts here, Marksburg does have an eerie tale.
Legend has it, the first count's daughter was said to marry a knight. That is until Saint Mark appeared. In the castle's tiny chapel, his spirit became visible, and he revealed the knight was actually in league with the devil. Eternally grateful, the castle was renamed Marksburg. That's the only supernatural event that we know of.
Von denen wir wissen.
In the early 19th century, the castle fell into Napoleon's hands, and he gifted it to the Duchy of Nassau. Then, in 1900, the German Castles Association, a private heritage foundation, bought Marksburg to preserve and protect it. Today, this stunning icon is home to a different kind of treasure. An immaculate collection of armament fit for a fortress such as this. More than 2,000 years of shaped steel and chainmail documenting the evolution of armor.
Life along the river has changed a lot with the centuries, but towering Marksburg Castle stands strong. It's an impeccable time capsule here on the Rhine.
Sei Dank schneit es nicht so oft hier am Rhein.
I hope you too will do what I did and immerse yourself in this Rhine treasure, listening for the stories this remarkable castle can tell.
After Koblenz, you'll enjoy an onboard lunch as you sail the scenic Middle Rhine, another UNESCO World Heritage Site, where castles and fortresses overlook the river from their hilltop posts. Often called the Romantic Rhine, the Rhine River flows through one of Germany's most scenic regions. We'll pass vineyard-blanketed hills whose steep slopes require vintners to pick grapes by hand, keeping a centuries-old tradition alive. Admire splendid castles and dramatic rocks along tall banks, all of which have stories to share. Perhaps you'll marvel most at the Lorelei Rock, at a dramatic curve in the river. Its eponymous river maiden mesmerized sailors with her song and lured them to their demise at her feet. So goes the stories. As you can see here, the river truly lives up to its nickname of the Romantic Rhine. Your program director will point out the castles, vineyards, and other landmarks. I suggest heading up to the sun deck for the best views and photo opportunities. Even if the weather isn't perfect, it's quite beautiful in any season and during almost any weather. Even when there's fog, it's actually very atmospheric. So do spend some time on the sun deck, either with a glass of wine or a cup of coffee or a hot chocolate. It's a special place to be during this part of the sailing.
In Germany, the River Rhine cuts through steep hillsides and craggy cliffs to reveal quaint villages of half-timbered houses around every bend. This 80-mile stretch between Bingen and Bonn makes up the Middle Rhine, but the area is more affectionately known as the Romantic Rhine. In the late 18th and early 19th centuries, this idyllic setting inspired Rhine Romanticism, an artistic movement during which artists decried industrialization and turned instead to nature and the past for inspiration. Writers, painters, and composers, Lord Byron, William Turner, and Richard Wagner among them, journeyed along this sublime waterway, coming away forever changed by the experience. This historic river inspired such works as Wagner's The Ring Cycle, Heine's poem The Lorelei, and some of Turner's finest landscapes, the result of several voyages along the Rhine. In 2002, a portion of the Middle Rhine was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site, in part because of its more than 40 medieval castles, such as Rheinstein Castle, once home to Holy Roman Emperor Rudolf von Habsburg, 12th century Starleck Castle, built by the Archbishops of Cologne, and Marksburg, the only Rhine castle never conquered. Even more intriguing is Pfalzgrafenstein, a toll station built on an island in the middle of the river. Chains once stretched from this island across the entire Rhine. In order to pass, one had to pay a toll, a major source of medieval revenue for the castle landowners. This majestic waterway, long the domain of knights and princes, painters and poets, offers a fascinating window into the past, as well as some of the world's most spectacular vistas. The next time you're in Europe, I hope you'll take the opportunity to explore the romantic Middle Rhine for yourself.
So we arrive in Rudesheim in the late afternoon. Located in the heart of Germany's Rheingau region, Rudesheim is the area's centre of winemaking. The famed Drosselgasse, a cobblestone street lined with taverns that pour local vintages and spill music into alleyways, it attracts locals and visitors alike. The optional excursion here is to dine in Rudesheim am Rhein. So you can raise your glass and give a hearty prost to a delicious and fun evening. Despite its growing popularity, Rudesheim has retained its small town riverside charms. Nowhere is this more apparent than along the Drosselgasse, a narrow pedestrian way overflowing with wines and oompa-oompa tunes. So prepare for a fun evening. Probably not the lowest calorie evening you'll have along the Rhine, but lots of fun, lots of local foods and cheer. Then there's another optional of wine tasting and dinner at Eberbach Monastery, and a third optional where there's wine tasting and dinner at Schloss Johannisberg Estate. Both beautiful venues and probably a little more civilized and quiet experiences than the fun, rowdy Rudesheim am Rhein dinner. Then we'll depart after midnight. You'll enjoy a morning of scenic sailing along the Rhine today. After lunch, we'll dock in Speyer. This city's charming shop-lined main street is overlooked by the impressive clock tower of its Altportal, the Old Town Gate. You may choose an included tour, that's the Speyer walking tour, where you can enjoy a sweet stroll through Speyer, home to the largest of the three Romanesque imperial cathedrals. Then the optional excursion here is panoramic Heidelberg and lunch with university students. And that's an optional that includes, of course, a bit of local life. So you'll visit this medieval town and then majestic Heidelberg Castle. And since Heidelberg is also home to Germany's oldest university, we'll invite you to enjoy a special lunch with a group of current students. Travelling on, welcome to France. We are now on the Upper Rhine. Bienvenue à France. Your destination on day 6 is beautiful Strasbourg, a city that features a unique blend of both French and German culture. The included excursion here is Strasbourg Highlights, where you'll learn about the cultural centre of France's Alsace region. We'll see the Cathedral of Our Lady of Strasbourg, one of the finest of Europe's great Gothic cathedrals. It was the world's tallest building from 1647 to 1874. And our optional excursions here are the Mercedes-Benz factory for car lovers. Car enthusiasts will not want to miss this working world excursion. You'll see the precision that goes into one of the world's best-selling luxury cars. More than 3 million Mercedeses have been built here since the plant's opening in 1992. Then another optional is the Alsatian wine tasting. We'll explore the treasures of Alsace from its Renaissance beauty and distinct culture to its crisp, clean white wines. On board this evening, we'll enjoy a taste of Germany, a dinner event with a special German tasting menu. We're in Germany again on day 7. This time on the Upper Rhine. Breisach is in one of the warmest parts of Germany and it's famous for its wine growing. The included excursion here is the Black Forest. We'll begin with a drive into the woods, passing several wine-producing villages. You may customize your experience and select one of the following cultural activities. You can take a forest stroll, you can attend a demonstration of cuckoo clocks, or learn how to make the decadent Black Forest cake. Then the optional tour to immerse yourself in the history of this area, you might choose the optional Colmar in World War II, the museum and memorial. Visit the Colmar Pocket, where American and French forces pushed back Nazi troops during the winter of 1944-1945, and we'll see artifacts from this era at the Colmar Pocket Memorial Museum. On a personal note, Colmar is one of my very favourite little towns around in this region. It is like a mini Strasbourg and absolutely picturesque, like a fairy tale town. So that certainly is one of the towns that I choose to go to, even when I'm in Basel, in the offices here. If I have a weekend, I love visiting Colmar. Then your voyage concludes here in Basel, a city known as the gateway to the Swiss Rhineland. Basel is home to Gothic, Renaissance and Baroque architecture, as well as over 40 museums. After breakfast on board, many of you will disembark and proceed to the airport for your return flight home. If you're interested, At Home in Basel with Joost will be streaming again this Friday, October 28th, and also be available to watch online. So if you want some local tips on what to do in Basel, there will be Joost giving you his personal suggestions. Or perhaps you've opted to continue your voyage with one of our extension packages. On the next few slides, we'll go over your extension options with this itinerary. I hope you enjoyed this detailed look at the Rhine Getaway. Post-extension packages. You can explore more with Viking either before or after your Rhine River voyage. Post-extension packages are available in Switzerland. 2 nights in Basel, where you can discover the city that stands at the point where France, Germany and Switzerland meet. See the lovely middle bridge, the Basel Cathedral and the winding cobblestone streets, lined with medieval houses and colourful fountains. You can explore the many museums and art galleries or just stroll the streets of the old town. I love doing that on weekends off, just having a coffee in a local cafe and watching the local Basel life. It's a beautiful city. Of course, it's also considered the pharmaceutical capital of Europe. So it's a fascinating mix of lots of different nationalities and well worth a couple of nights' stay. Alternatively, you could spend 2 nights in Lucerne, which is actually where I live. And in my opinion, and many others, it is the most beautiful city in Switzerland. So you can explore this traditional Swiss town along the banks of the Lake Lucerne with its dramatic alpine backdrop. You'll see the 14th century chapel bridge, which you mustn't miss, the Baroque churches and the medieval old town. And if you're there in the wintertime, I highly recommend some fondue or raclette along the river, outside of course, because it's quite a smelly experience, but fondue or raclette along the river when it gets a bit chilly. Outside they'll provide you with coats to keep warm is quite the local thing to do. So Lucerne is beautiful any time of year, and as I said, my absolute favourite picture postcard city in Switzerland. Very different from Basel. So those are 2-night optionals in Switzerland for you. We have more journeys that we offer along the Rhine. One of them, of course, are real flagship itinerary is the Grand European Tour, which is 15 days and 4 countries. We have Cities of Light, which is 12 days and 4 countries. Paris to the Swiss Alps, 12 days and 4 countries. Holland and Belgium, 10 days and 3 countries. Tulips and Windmills, 10 days and 2 countries, lots of flowers. European Sojourn, very long, very beautiful, 23 days and 8 countries. Then there's Christmas along the Rhine, which is 8 days, 4 countries, and lots of lovely Christmas markets. Then there is the wonderful Oberammergau, the Alps and the Rhine, which is 12 days and 6 countries, and the Rhine and Viking Shores and Fjords, which combines rivers and oceans with Viking. That's 15 days and 6 countries. So please contact your Viking representative or visit Viking.com. Thank you for exploring the Rhine Getaway with me today, and I hope you enjoyed it almost as much as you would have had you explored it with Joost. To answer your live Q&As, I'm actually going to pass you over to my colleague Klaus, who is very involved in defining the experiences that you'll have both onshore and on board on the Rhine Getaway itinerary. So I thought he would be the best person to spend the next little bit of time with you. So again, thank you for watching, and I'm going to pass it over to Klaus.
All right. Thank you very much, Karina. Good evening, everybody. My name is Klaus Schemminger. I'm responsible for land operations at Viking for all our river ships, and I'm very happy to answer your questions tonight. Before we go there, let me also introduce and welcome Bree, who is reading out the questions to us tonight. And maybe Bree, you want to say a few words about yourself?
Thank you, Klaus. I am very excited to be joining and reading some questions on behalf of everyone at home. I have been employed with Viking for over 5 years, and I am coming from the Los Angeles office today. So let's get started. Are you ready, Klaus?
Please, yes.
Wonderful. Our first question today comes from a Kimberly Landon in the United States. She asks, my husband and I are traveling from Basel to Amsterdam in April 2023. What are the best clothes to pack and wear on that trip?
That's a very good question, Kimberly. And April is actually a season where it can go in all directions. It can still snow. There's a saying in Germany where they're saying the month of April does whatever he wants to do. So there could be still snow, or there could be temperatures where you walk around in a t-shirt. So I would just recommend to pack and then also dress in layers. That's the best to do during that time period.
Thank you very much. Klaus, a guest named Hourly in Brooklyn asks, what is your favorite personal part of this trip and why?
Okay, hi, Hourly. Well, that's a very tough question. I actually loved the entire trip. And when I joined Viking 16 years ago, it was the first trip that I did as a training. So great memories to even that first trip. If I would really need to pick and choose, I would probably choose Breisach. And the reason for Breisach is because from there we're just offering, like Karina also mentioned earlier, wonderful afternoon excursion to Colmar, which is just an outstanding city. So you're experiencing Germany and you're experiencing France. At the same time, also Strasbourg is such a beautiful, beautiful city and one of my favorite cities on this trip. And what I especially like about Strasbourg is our guided food walk, where you visit 10 shops which showcase specific food of France and Strasbourg. So both are two of my favorite places. I hope that answers your question.
Fantastic. On the subject of shore excursions, we have a few questions. Clementina in Richmond, Virginia asks, the Rhine itinerary sounds very exciting. I wanted to know more about the excursion to Kinderdijk. Is the tour conducted by a general guide hired by Viking, or is the tour given by a local that works in the windmill?
So yes, the latter is the case. We are working only with local guides. So it is a local volunteer guide from Kinderdijk. Just the other day, we hosted all our volunteer guides, 120 from Kinderdijk, on one of our ships as a season end party, so to speak. The season is still going on, also the visits to Kinderdijk, but they had a get together. And they're all excellent, excellent guides. They're coming from the region. They were all grown up in the region. Of course, not all of them can work or live in the windmills, but you also visit the millers of the windmills and you have a chance to talk to them. So it's an absolute local life experience.
Wonderful, thank you. I have a question from Garrett from New York. The excursion to Black Forest looks amazing. I would love to try that. I was just wondering if this is an intense walk. Would we have to be fairly fit to do it, or can anyone do it?
Hi, Garrett. That walk that is part of that Black Forest excursion is about a 20-minute walk. It's slightly steep, but not extremely. And I mean, you don't need to be extremely fit, but you need to be able to walk about for 20 minutes in a slightly steep environment. And also the ground is not always paved. It's also some stones. So that's about the requirements there are.
Thank you. That brings us to a mobility question. Several guests asked about wheelchairs and mobility devices. Specifically, Kelly in the United States asks, I use a collapsible wheelchair and have read the size requirements for wheelchairs on your ships. I realize not all of the excursions would be doable, but would there be enough accessibility to make this cruise a good option for me and my husband to choose?
Yes. I mean, of course, with the collapsible wheelchair, and I think this is already important that it is collapsible, you can, of course, also take it on the coaches. And many of the environments we are visiting, like the city walks, they are relatively flat. And if you have somebody accompanying you who can help you and push the wheelchair, this will be absolutely possible. And your program director on board, he or she can always tell you the day prior which excursions they would recommend to be the best with a wheelchair. Like you said earlier in your question, not everything will be accessible, but many of the sites are.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And a related question, a Ron in the United States asks, are there places to recharge mobility scooter batteries and oxygen concentrators on board?
Yes, I mean, you do have multiple plugs in your cabin. And of course, those plugs you can use to charge any of your electronic devices, also the ones you had mentioned in your question. So yes.
Great. Thanks very much. Getting back to the itinerary, I have a question about the Koblenz tour from a Cheyenne in Atlanta. How long? They ask, how long is the walking tour of Koblenz, and will there be a chance for breaks if we need one?
Yes. Like Karina also mentioned in her presentation, we have on each tour where we have a walking tour, also a group of leisurely walkers if this is needed. And also there, it would be important to communicate with your program director or with our guest services team on board, that you would communicate that requirement. And of course, in our leisurely groups, we are taking breaks, and we're also going at the slower pace. The Koblenz walking tour is approximately 1.5 hours in full duration.
Thanks very much. I have a question from Keely in Winter Springs who asks, how do we sign up for the optional excursions in Cologne? I believe there are 2 optional ones to the top and one to explore Cologne's beer culture. What if we want to do both or neither?
Hi, Keely. The best way I recommend always to sign up for optional excursions is, of course, My Viking Journey. Then you can also plan already ahead, and you know exactly how your schedule is going to look like. Of course, if you have missed out on signing up on My Viking Journey, you can also still sign up on board with our program director or the guest services team if there is still space available. In Cologne, we're actually offering, yes, the top of Cologne. I highly, highly recommend this tour. It's one that also only we as Viking are offering to our guests. So it's a Viking exclusive or privileged access, like Karina mentioned earlier. And we also have the Brühl, Schloss Brühl in the afternoon, and in the evening, correct, the third optional is a tour through the pubs of Cologne. And again, I would recommend to sign up via My Viking Journey if any of those tours interest you, especially with the top of Cologne. It's recommended to sign up ahead of time, as there's really only limited space, and we can also not add to that space. It's different with the Brühl and the pub visit. And if you don't want to join, that's really up to you. Then you spend just some wonderful free time in the city of Cologne, and there you also get some recommendations from our local guides during the morning walking tour, or from our concierge on board the ship, who can give you recommendations what to do if you want to spend time on your own in the city.
Thank you. A question from Herbert in Springfield. I love to cycle. Are there any opportunities to cycle along this itinerary?
Absolutely, absolutely. Hi, Herbert, and thank you for reminding me, because also in Cologne, we are offering a cycling tour with a bicycle guide through the city and towards the outskirts of the city. And my absolute favorite bicycle tour on this itinerary is cycling into the Black Forest with an e-bike. This is out of Breisach. That's a full day tour included with a lunch, and you're cycling through picturesque small little villages, and you're also having a visit of a wonderful farm building. So that's a great recommendation to do if you love cycling.
Thank you very much. Additional question about shore excursions. There is a question from Victor from Riverside in the US. They ask, the Transportation Museum in Speyer includes airplanes, space, cars, trains, and is one of the finest in the world. It is near the Viking docking location. I believe he's asking if we are able to visit.
Yes. Hi, Victor, from Riverside. What the matching name to our topic. Yes, it is close. The Transportation Museum in Speyer is close to our docking place. And with the help of our concierge, we can arrange a visit for you to go there. We don't have it included in our optional program. yet, I should probably say, but for sure, we can help you arranging a visit there. Not a problem.
Thank you very much. I had a guest question from Christopher Atkinson in Atkinson, who asks, "Hi Klaus, are there any key differences in starting sailing from Amsterdam to Basel or the other way around?"
Hey, Christopher. That's also a very good question. Not really. It really depends on where you would start from and end at. One difference is that if you start in Basel and you would like to be keen on a pre-extension in Italy, namely in Como, that would only be possible doing it as a pre-extension, meaning sailing then from Basel to Amsterdam. We don't offer it as a post-extension. But other than that, there are not really any key differences. Each direction is pretty much the same shore excursions and a great experience, regardless which way.
Thank you. A question from Wanda in the United States. Are there any opportunities to see a castle up close along the way?
Yes, absolutely. Like we just heard from Karina, and she also showed some really beautiful pictures from Marksburg Castle. And Marksburg Castle, we are visiting. It's an optional shore excursion on the day out of Koblenz. And it's a wonderful opportunity to see a medieval castle from the inside. So yes.
Wonderful, thank you. A question from Nancy who asks, if we only do the included tours, are there enough things to do on our own at each stop to fill the day?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, each city has so much to offer. Each city we're docking in has so much to offer for you to explore on your own. And like I mentioned earlier, our guest services team, who also acts as a concierge, they have, together with our program director, a wealth of experience of what there can be done on an individual basis. And we can also help you arranging things on an individual basis. So you can do that parallel or after or before your included shore excursions. I personally would definitely recommend to take some selected optional shore excursions, as they just help you to even explore more of the destination curated by Viking, I would say.
Thank you. A related question from Catherine in Granville. After taking the tours, is there still time to shop in the different locations?
Yeah, I mean, that really depends on the location, and that really also depends on the day when you are really starting the cruise, right? We have every day a ship starting in Basel, and also every day a ship starting in Amsterdam. And of course, for example, in Cologne, if you do not dock in Cologne on a Sunday, you will have full shopping opportunity there. Whereas if you dock there on a Sunday, the shops are closed. Same thing, of course, goes for Amsterdam and goes for Basel. And then there are more smaller acquainted villages like Breisach, where there's not too much shopping opportunity. I personally would recommend, if you're really interested in also having some shopping time, that you add a pre or a post extension. Both Basel and Amsterdam are beautiful cities to explore, not only for shopping, but they also offer quite some shopping opportunities. And of course, our local guides during the walking tours, whenever there is an opportunity for some free time or for some shopping, they also point that out. So they help you with shopping opportunities, even then on a shorter period of time.
Thank you very
I hope
much.
that answers your question.
Wonderful. A question from Karen. She asks, why is the Flavors of Alsace shore excursion not offered in May when we are taking this trip?
That is difficult for me to answer. I would almost say, if so, either it would be because you're arriving then on a particular holiday, local holiday in Strasbourg, and then all those shops, or the majority of the shops, would be closed. And therefore, we could not bring you to those shops, and that's then a date which we call a blackout date, and we cannot offer the tour. That's the only explanation that could come to my head right now.
Thank you. A question from Susan and Ralph in Macken. We are on the April Grand European, the first week of April, starting in Amsterdam. Will the tulips be in high bloom at that time?
Well, also a very good question, and I would love to say yes, of course. However, I have to say it really, really depends on quite some factors. For example, how is the winter, also temperature-wise, and then how is spring starting, mainly also temperature-wise, and that, and also with the rainfall, and that really affects then the blooming of the tulips. The chances are very high that they will be in full bloom, and I keep my fingers crossed for you. However, if I would say, of course, yes, I think I would go too far, but I'm guessing very much so, yes.
Wonderful. Returning to the Rhine Getaway itinerary, I have a question from John in Indianapolis who asks, my wife was interested in possibly going on a river cruise to see castles. Is this one that you would suggest, or are there other possible ones? Must have castle tours.
I mean, of course, the castles on the Middle Rhine, they are very, very special. And I would say if you love castles, take the Rhine cruise and judge it from there. I would say yes.
Wonderful. A question from Adam in Cincinnati. If traveling from the US, when should we expect to arrive in Basel? We have booked our cruise already, and we're wondering if we need a hotel room the night before the cruise. Also, do we have time to explore Switzerland before departing? Thank you.
Hi, Adam. Thank you for this question. If you arrive on the day of departure, I would definitely recommend to arrive in the morning or around noontime. That would then still leave you half a day to spend some time in Basel. And also on the arrival and embarkation day, we are offering a welcome walk that brings you into the city with one of our local guide experts in Basel. But of course, if you want to take it a little bit more leisurely, then I would definitely recommend to either book a hotel, or we also offer an extension, a pre-extension in Basel. So it's 2 nights. Why not taking that? And then you can experience Basel to its fullest, and you're arriving already in a very relaxed way on your cruise on the ship.
Thank you very much. A question from Wanda in the United States who asks, it was mentioned there were included excursions in each of the 8 ports, but I only see 6 shore excursions for our 8-day trip. We are going from Basel to Amsterdam with the Como pre-trip extension. Thank you.
So see, there is the Como pre-extension. Excellent, Wanda. You're going to love it. Yes, the reason why it's only 6 included excursions is, of course, because on the embarkation day in Basel, we don't count the welcome walk as a shore excursion. And therefore, there is no shore excursion on the embarkation day, and also on the disembarkation day in Amsterdam, there's also no shore excursion. But on all the other days, there's every day an included shore excursion. And this is why it counts up to 6. We could say plus the welcome walk in Basel, so that makes 7.
Thank you. A question from Charlotte in the United States, who asks, I am taking the Rhine Christmas Market cruise. Will there be time for both Christmas market shopping and other activities in each port?
Hi, Charlotte. Great to hear that you're joining us for the Christmas market cruise. You're going to love it. I mean, the Rhine during Christmas time, that's a complete other dimension again. Like most of the rivers are during Christmas time. And yes, for sure, we are changing the itineraries there so that you will have time to experience the Christmas markets and, of course, can parallel also do some other shopping. Also, most of the Christmas markets are right in the center of the city, so that you can decide after you have seen enough that you would then go and visit the other shops, or the other way around, that you would first go and visit the other shops and then end up on the Christmas market with a leisurely Glühwein, for example.
Very nice. Thank you. Several viewers have written a question about water levels and their impact on this itinerary. They understand that it is somewhat unpredictable, but how has the water level been looking currently for ships?
Yeah, I was expecting that question, and it's good that you're asking it. Currently, we have perfect water levels. All our ships are sailing as they are supposed to sail in schedule to the minute, so it's all perfect. We did have some challenges with water levels during summer, but we operated all our cruises. And maybe allow me some minutes to explain what it is we do during what we call deviations due to water levels. I mean, if we have high water, that's usually over in quite a short period of time that the water levels are dropping again, so that doesn't affect us too much. During summer this year, we had a couple of weeks where we were affected, but again, we could sail on all our itineraries. There were 2 itineraries, one of them being the Rhine and one of them being the Danube, where we were at occasional times required to do ship swaps because the ships could not continue to sail. And in such a situation, I would really call it more like a full day shore excursion rather than anything else. The big advantage with Viking, of course, is that we have identical ships. So if we take the Rhine as an example, and one of those places where water level can go low and where we cannot continue sailing then is Kaub. That's between Mainz and Koblenz. So then the ship coming from Amsterdam would just sail all the way up to Koblenz. The ship coming from Basel would sail all the way down up to Speyer or Mannheim. And then we would do that full day shore excursion where you arrive then in the evening on just the sister ship and you just continue sailing. So this is the big advantage we have at Viking, the way we have designed and built our ship types. And therefore, yes, water levels do vary, but I feel at Viking we have found a perfect way to deal with it. And then again, if you look at it, it was only a very, very small percentage of cruises that were really affected. And for example, all our cruises on the Douro River, all our cruises in France, all our cruises between Passau and Budapest, they were not affected at all. So I hope that gives you a little bit a better idea of how we deal at Viking with water levels and yeah, I would say don't believe everything that's out there in the press about water levels. Check on our website if there is a situation. We're usually always up to date with the informations about those situations when we are in those situations. I hope that helps you a little bit to understand that it is not really such a big issue like the media are making it, and that we have quite a lot of experience and expertise in dealing with it.
Thank you for clarifying. Returning to the pre-extensions for this itinerary, I do see a comment from a guest, Mike in Montclair, who shares praise. They did the Como extension. It was awesome. Highly recommend, since Viking Motor Coach goes to the most beautiful excursions, a lunch and a stop in Lucerne.
Very happy to hear that. Thanks a lot, Mike. Thanks for sharing your praise.
And then Helen in Fresno in the US asks, how do I get information on the Como pre-extension, and can it go with the Basel pre-extension also?
It cannot go, unfortunately, with the Basel pre-extension because that would overlap. So it would be either or. And the best way to get information is really if you go on our website. This is where you find all the information you would basically like to have for a need. And of course, otherwise, consult your travel agent or call one of our travel agent experts on the phone.
A related question from Mai in the United States, who asks, what is the cost for a balcony cabin for one couple, including airfare, including travel insurance?
Yeah. There, I would also say the best thing is if you go on our website, because cost of a cruise and a particular cabin depends also, of course, on the time of traveling, and then also airfare particularly is affected by that. So I would say go on our website, you will find all the information there, or consult your travel agent, and they will have the respective pricing for the time you want to travel for you at their fingertips.
Thank you for clarifying. I have a couple of questions for you, Klaus, about the onboard experience. This comes from Leonidas in San Francisco. Asks, I would like to buy some wine during this trip. Is there a limit to the number of bottles I can bring on board? Can I have it served during meal times?
Yes, absolutely. You can. There's no limit of bottles you can bring on board, and yes, you can even have it served during meal times. We're very open there. At the same time, of course, I also always recommend our wine selection we have on board, which is quite large. Some international wines, but also wines of the region we are sailing through. So be welcome to bring your own wine on board. I would recommend try also some wines from our own wine menu. And of course, we do have, if you really love wine, we do have a beverage package, which you can get some more information on the website, which is a great value if you like to drink also maybe some cocktails at the bar after dinner or before dinner. So think about that as well.
Lovely, thank you. A question from Dean in the United States. Do the ships always dock within walking distance from the host city?
I would say most of the time, yes. Of course, that also depends in which city, and then it would also depend on the water levels. You know, during low water, for example, not all our docks could be reached. So we were forced to dock a little bit further outside or at a different docking space, but in the majority of the cases, we are in the cities and almost within walking distance. If that is not the case, we usually also offer then a shuttle service.
Thank you. Sandy in Altoona asks, if we book the optional tours, will we still have time to go on the included tours?
Yes, Sandy, in most of the cases, not always, we are offering the optional tours before or after the included tours. There are a couple of cases. Vienna is such an example where we're offering optional tours also parallel to include it. And then, of course, it's your choice if you feel the optionals are so interesting that you would like to join them, or if you would rather go for the included one. In most of the cases, you can visit both.
Thank you. Susan and Ralph ask, we are embarking from Amsterdam. What is the earliest time we can store our luggage on the ship on the day of embarkation and then exit the ship for more sightseeing?
Hi, Susan and Ralph. That's a very good question. The ship is actually already docked the night prior in Amsterdam, as the guests who have just arrived in Amsterdam are disembarking. So there is no real time limit if you would just want to come and store your luggage. Of course, the cabin is only ready after it then guests have checked out and it can be thoroughly cleaned. But storing the luggage is not an issue, and that is exactly what I would also recommend you to do against jet lag, right? If you arrive early on your flight into Amsterdam, store the luggage and explore the city. It's a great way to get over the jet lag.
Thank you. A question from James in the United States who asks, hi Klaus, we have done the optionals offered in Lucerne already. Do you have any other suggestions of what we should do in Lucerne?
Hey, James. Well, I mean, Lucerne is an outstanding city and has a lot to offer. There's, for example, also a museum about transportation that you could visit. There is a lake cruise that you could visit, that you could do, very relaxing. So those would be two things that come to my mind right away. Then, of course, taking a chocolate making class, but that's not always available every day, is also something that I feel is very special for Lucerne. So there I would just recommend talk to our hotel host, our Viking hotel host, and they are local experts and they can give you a lot of other options if you would choose to come back to Lucerne, even though you have done the optionals already that Viking offers.
Lovely, thank you. A question from Andrea in the United States. If you disembark after breakfast in Basel and are extending in Lucerne, will you have a chance to see Basel at all?
No, unfortunately not. We are leaving in the mid-morning hours from the ship in Basel to Lucerne, so that we can also help you to make the most out of your time in Lucerne. And therefore, there won't be time to explore Basel unless you would really, really get up early in the morning and do a little 1.5 or 2 hours walk on your own. That, of course, you could do, but yeah, that would probably not be what you would call exploring. You would get a glimpse of Basel still. But if you join to do the Lucerne extension, the goal really is to bring you to Lucerne, that you can make the most out of that city.
Thanks very much. Some additional questions about the onboard experience. Rebecca in the US asks, are there gluten-free options in the cities?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that question, Rebecca. We have outstanding chefs on our ships, and they are very familiar with dietary requirements, and gluten-free is just one of them. And of course, they will be able to cater towards those needs. Not a problem at all.
Thank you very much. Another question from Donna, and she asks, will the Christmas markets be open on Sundays?
Yes, yes. Hi, Donna. Christmas markets, there is no Sunday. They are open every day, and Sunday is probably also one of the most visited days at the Christmas markets, because all the locals who work during the week are also trying to enjoy those Christmas markets. So yes, they are open, and you're going to be in very good company on Saturdays and Sundays at the Christmas markets. Very joyful.
How nice, thank you. Our next question comes from Cindy in the United States. I did not see the optional excursion to the top of Cologne Cathedral listed on our September 2023 trip. Is it always offered?
Well, also there, due to certain blackout dates where the cathedral has some special occasions where they would not be able to allow us to go to the rooftop, we cannot offer it always. It's on most of the dates offered, but unfortunately not always. Same what I mentioned earlier with our food tour in Strasbourg.
Thank you. A question from Nick in the United States. My wife and I will be on a Viking River trip early November from Paris to the Swiss Alps. We would like to know if there are any early Christmas festivities or shops to buy Christmas items along our journey.
Yeah, for sure you can find in Basel a shop that sells Christmas items already in November. For sure also in Trier you will find a shop selling Christmas items. Early November is for the Christmas markets, though a little bit too early. Usually they're starting mid or towards late of November. So I'm sorry that I have to disappoint you with the Christmas markets, but Christmas items you're going to find. And there again, just talk to your program director or talk to our guest services team, and they will be able to give you the right recommendations or point you to the right stores.
Thank you. A question from Patricia in the United States asking, I've signed up for the Cologne walking tour and for the beer culture and dinner in the evening. Will there be time to visit the Cologne Cathedral in the afternoon?
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for asking this question, Patricia. The walking tour takes place in the morning. The Cologne beer culture and dinner takes place in the evening. So you really have the afternoon to visit the cathedral and explore Cologne also on your own. So yes, will be possible.
Thank you. Deborah in Muncie asks, we are on the Grand European Tour August. What type of clothing should we pack?
Great, Deborah. Wow. I mean, August, that's really high summer. So there, I would clearly say pack some light clothes. It's going to be warm on the entire itinerary. Even if there might be some days with some rain, the temperatures in August, they're not going to drop very low. So you will be fine with some light clothing and you will enjoy the Grand Euro. It's a beautiful time to travel.
Lovely. John in the United States asks, is it possible to visit the Rudesheim Toy Museum?
That really depends, of course, on the opening hours of the museum and on the time we are docking in Rudesheim. If we're only docking there in the evening, the museum might be already closed. There, I would also recommend check when you are embarking already with your program director or guest services, and they will give you the specific answer for your trip. I'm saying most likely yes, but I would not be able to guarantee.
Thank you. Regarding ShoreX booking, Kathy L. asks, about your shore excursions, the included shore excursions seem very appealing, as do the optional ones. Are they scheduled so that both an included and optional excursion can be attended, or must we choose only one for each stop?
Hi, Kathy. Like I mentioned earlier, it is most of the time possible that you can choose the included as well as one or even two optional excursions still on the same day. Again, the example from Cologne, the included in the morning, Brühl in the afternoon and in the evening, or the top of Cologne, and in the evening you could then still do the visit of the pubs and the dinner. So in Kinderdijk, for example, to take that as the contrary, we are offering there the bicycle tour to explore Kinderdijk, or the vintage barge to explore Kinderdijk, parallel to our included Kinderdijk tour. So it's all the same place you're visiting. It's more than the means of transportation, how you would like to explore the place. So there you would need to choose, but again, you would see exactly the same, just in a different mode. Hope this answers your question.
Thank you, Klaus. I have a question from Robert in Philadelphia who asks, I'm taking the Rhine cruise in April. Are there limits to the number of guests included on each included tours, and when will they be available to book?
The included tours are conceived the way that all guests on the ship can really also join on the included tour. So there should be no limits, unless, again, there is an exception at a certain place. But other than that, you should be able to join all the included tours as you wish.
Thank you. Mary in Indianapolis asks, what are some souvenirs that will be great to bring back to our home? We are taking the Rhine Getaway in June 2023.
Yes, yes. Hi, Mary. Well, that's a tough question as well. Of course, you're traveling through many countries and many regions which are standing for typical different things. Cheese is, of course, always a souvenir that guests like to bring back, be it from the Netherlands or be it from Switzerland. Chocolate, of course, from Switzerland is another typical souvenir. From the Black Forest, it could be schnapps. Yeah, there are quite some places which are making outstanding schnapps. So Black Forest cake, unfortunately, is difficult to bring back home as a souvenir, but maybe the recipe, so you can bake it at home. So those are just a few examples that come to my mind. But again, also there, your program director and your guest services team and your hotel manager, they have a lot of ideas of what guests usually like to bring home as souvenirs. And they can give you many more hints, types of souvenirs, and then also places where you can buy those souvenirs. Besides those typical souvenirs, you could also bring a book of Finse home for your grandchildren, maybe. Also, that I feel is a very a good souvenir to bring back home from a Viking river cruise.
Thank you very much. A question from Craig in Denver, who asks, if we have booked air separately from Viking Air, but booked a post-extension, can we still get a transfer to the airport?
Hi, Craig. If you book Viking Air, you have the transfer included. If you book your own air, you could still book a transfer with Viking then from the hotel to the airport. But of course, what we can also always do is that our Viking hosts at the hotel support you with the best possibility of a transfer. So no worries whatsoever. There will be solutions that will fit and suit your needs, be found directly at the hotel together with you.
Thank you. We have some onboard experience questions. James asks, will the passengers on board be international?
Hi, James. About 80% of our guests are from North America, and about 15% of our guests are from Europe, mainly from the UK. But there can be also some German guests on there who have booked through the UK office, speaking perfectly English, or some Swiss guests, Austrian guests, whatever. European countries, European citizens. And then we have also some guests from Canada. We have some guests from Australia. So I would clearly say, yes, we do have a wonderful international crowd on board of our ships. Of course, all English speaking.
Thank you. A couple of other questions about the onboard experience. Nancy asks, is Wi-Fi available? And Marie asks, are ATMs easily available on the trip?
Yes, when it comes to ATMs, the local guides, they're always pointing out where you can find ATMs when you are in towns, and also the team on the ship knows exactly where the closest ATM from a docking station would be. When it comes to Wi-Fi, yes, we do offer Wi-Fi on board, absolutely. However, it's important, I always say, you know, a ship is sailing, and therefore we're sailing also through narrows where there are mountains left and right, or we're sailing through forested areas, or there are bridges across the rivers. And those are all things that can, of course, affect the Wi-Fi accessibility. And therefore, yes, the signal, we do offer Wi-Fi on board. The strength of the signal, of course, depends on the different regions that we're sailing through. But also definitely in all of the cities we are docking in, you have a very, very strong Wi-Fi connection on the ship.
Thank you. Ellen asks two questions. We're from the United States. Do we need an adapter to plug in cell phones and CPAP machines in our stateroom? Also, she asks, in Karine's presentation, she mentioned excursions that are not listed as options online. Are there additional excursions that are being added?
Starting with the adapter, we do have in our cabins also plugs where you can plug in without an adapter your US devices. Depending on how many devices you would have, we also have the European plugs in the stateroom. So if it would be more than the plugs we have available in the US format, then you would need an adapter, but we usually also have adapters on board of our ships. If you would stay in a hotel in Europe there, I would definitely recommend you to bring an adapter. Now, speaking about the optional excursions, usually all our optional excursions we are offering, they are offered via My Viking Journey, and this is where you can book them, like I said earlier, which is also what I'm recommending to do. Sometimes there are new types of optional excursions, as we're continuously developing new optional excursions that we might be offering or trying them out on a cruise, and they might therefore not yet be available on My Viking Journey. This is why it can always happen once in a while that there are optional excursions that your program director offers to you the evening prior to arriving in the next port during the port talk for the next day. So that's the latest and greatest and most updated. Hope that explains that majority is on My Viking Journey, but there might be exceptions here and there.
Thank you. David from Charlotte asks, will we need local currency for each country?
Hi, David. Yeah, I mean, of course, you can, in the meantime, also in Europe, mainly pay with cards. So if you would not have any cash, use your credit card. However, if you want to pay with cash, then we definitely recommend that you have local currency, mainly euro, or here in Switzerland, Swiss francs. I would say so. It's the easiest. In Hungary, for example, though, they're also accepting euros, as it is very common there to also pay in euros. Your ship team can give you detailed information, again, depending on the itinerary you're on. My recommendation would be have some local currencies, or at least euros, with you, and also have your credit card ready.
Thank you. A question from Wendy in Canada. When in Heidelberg, will we be able to go to the church where Martin Luther posted his thesis?
Well, you will have free time in Heidelberg. So, of course, you can visit then places you would like to visit. So the general answer would be yes, you can.
Thank you. A question from Scott in the US. Does the standard tour in Cologne include going into the cathedral?
Yes, we are going into the cathedral, or you are going into the cathedral during the standard tour. The explanations are given by our local guides, are outside, and then you have time on your own to explore the cathedral from inside.
Thank you. David in Charlotte asks, are there any lake cruises? Any idea on costs or websites to visit to learn more?
Are there any lake cruises? Well, I mean, I'm not sure if I understand the question right, but we do offer some lake cruises, like, for example, of the Lake of Lucerne or the Lake Como. So those are lake cruises on lakes that we're offering during extensions mainly. And those I would also all highly recommend. Other than that, we're not offering lake cruises on the rivers, but of course, with our expedition ships, we are offering lake cruises on the Great Lakes. So this is, of course, an outstanding experience and lake cruise as well. I'm not sure if this answers the question, Brie.
I think it does, and they can find more information about our Great Lakes and expedition cruises on our website.
Absolutely, absolutely.
A comment I'd love to share from a Janet Martin, who shares that on a Danube trip in 2019 on the Helmud, the chef made me a special apple strudel that was gluten-free and nut-free, as I could not eat the one prepared during the demonstration. The staff was so helpful. I enjoyed the tour and am taking the Rhine journey in 2023.
Wow. Great story you're sharing here, Janet. And yes, I mean, all our onboard teams are doing their utmost best to cater towards the needs of our guests. And thank you for booking again with Viking, and this time exploring the Rhine.
Another related question from Martin in Canada. On the lunch and dinner menus, are there very many choices for the entrees? Are there sample menus online?
We do have some sample menus online on certain itineraries. Yes, and yes, absolutely. There are always choices to choose from, be it from the entrees, be it from the main courses, or be it from the desserts. And we have, of course, different variations. When you look at our food offer, we have always food items on the menu that have to do with the area you are sailing through. We also have food items on the menu that are rather a healthy choice. And we also have some food items on the menu which we're calling always available. For example, our chairman's choice, which is salmon and cucumbers and potatoes. Or we have, I call it some comfort food, which is also always available, which could be some burgers or a really good and hearty steak. So I can guarantee you, you will find on a daily basis something on the menu that suits you and that speaks towards you.
Thank you. Another question regarding the onboard experience. Dave in Eau Claire asks, what entertainment is on board other than bar and library? I read, but I don't drink.
Yeah. I mean, of course, when you think about entertainment, this is different, of course, on an ocean ship or on an expedition ship or on a river ship. When we're focusing now on the river ship, we bring in certain cities some special guests on our ship. That can be then a lecture, be it about the European Union, be it about other topics typical for the area. That can also be that it is a musical duo or trio. And of course, we do have an onboard musician. So this is when it comes to entertainment, if I interpret your question correctly. When it comes to places you can spend time on board, be it the library or be it the bar. Of course, there we have many more places. For example, our Aquavit lounge, or for example, the Sun Deck, which are again special places and different places where you can spend some time and where you can have a good book to read and yeah, be cozy and enjoy the landscape that's just moving by. So no reason or no need to drink, quote unquote, in order to have an outstanding time on all of our ships.
Thank you very much. A question from Jeff in Point Pleasant, who asks, where can I find information about the facilities on board the ships? And do we know which ship will be traveling in May of 2023? I think he means on this itinerary.
Yeah. The best way to inform you about the ship itself and also which ship it is that's sailing is, is the website. On the website, you will find all the information about the ship type in general and the name of the ship that would be sailing on that specific itinerary. Therefore, you would need to call your agent, be it in our Los Angeles office, one of our sales agents, or be it your travel agent.
Thank you very much. A guest, Emma, asks, if we are doing the pre-extension in Amsterdam, will Viking take our luggage from the hotel to the ship without us so we can spend more time exploring the city? Or do we need to be with our luggage while it is transported?
No, absolutely, Emma. That's exactly the idea of it, that this goes all flawless and you will check out in the morning at your hotel and you will store the luggage, and in the evening when you arrive on the ship, then the luggage will be there. Or of course, we're also offering a transfer to go from the hotel to the ship, which you could join, and this is then also the transfer where the luggage goes with. And some of our guests, they are joining that transfer. Others are saying, I rather want to spend still the full day in the city, and therefore I arrive late in the evening at the ship, and then you will find your luggage in your stateroom, and you're ready and set to settle in.
Thank you. We have some questions about weather for travel. Randy asks, what's the weather in September? Nick asks about the weather in November. And Jane asks, what is your favorite time of year to cruise the Rhine? And thanks you for your time and expertise.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's my pleasure. I mean, the weather in September it can not like April, where I said earlier, it can almost still, it could also still snow. In September, for sure, it will not snow. But September could be already leaning towards fall, but it could also still be full summer. So September or early October is actually one of the most favorite, my favorite times to cruise on the Rhine, because if you have, I mean, like today, we had 22 degrees centigrade. It's almost like summer on the 26th of October. And on such a day with blue sky, and then the fall foliage out there, and then you're sailing and you're sitting on the sun deck with a nice drink or a cup of coffee or a tea, and you're seeing all this. I mean, this is close to heaven. So that answers how the weather in September can be and what my favorite time of traveling on the Rhine would be. Even though I have to say, I also love spring, you know, when everything comes back to bloom. So May, late April, beginning of May, also that is a fantastic time to sail. Summer in the cities is also excellent. So almost every month has its charm, let me say it like that. But there was a third part of the question, Bree, which, sorry, I forgot.
They asked about September, November, and then your favorite time to say. Yes.
Super. Thank you. Yes. Thank you for repeating. Yes. So November, I mean, November can also still be a beautiful fall. November can also, however, be already the start of winter. So you can have some snowfall depending on rather towards the end of November. I would say that's even likely. This is also when we have the Christmas market, so it's supposed to snow. Towards the beginning of November, it can, however, also still be some fall. You still have some leaves on the trees. It can also be rainy, but then again, it has also something very cozy to a rainy fall day along the Rhine, I would say.
Thank you very much. Wendy on Facebook asks what the weather can be expected in December. And Richard asks, when are the ships decorated for Christmas?
Yes. Let's start with the decorating part first. We are decorating the ships for Christmas after Thanksgiving. This is when we then start with the decoration, or then for the Christmas cruises, of course. And in December, the temperatures can be rather on the lower side, so I would say about 5 degrees centigrade, or also towards 0 degrees centigrade, and there can be some slight snowfall. So there I would definitely recommend to bring some warm clothes, some winter clothes also. But also that has its charm, and there can be very dry, crisp winter days where it is a pleasure to be outside and to go for some walks and some exploration of the cities.
Thank you. I actually have a comment from James in the United States who says, hi, Klaus, we are booked and ready to go to the Christmas markets, our first trip with your company. You answered all the questions in depth. We are so looking forward to this trip, but now want to do this and another Viking River trip in the spring and summer. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, James. And yes, we are happy to have you as our guests, and we are happy to have you on multiple cruises. I mean, there's so much to offer and so much to explore.
Thank you. Luann in the United States asks, do they have any tours in Falls Grafenstein? Apologies on my pronunciation.
Grafenstein, yes.
And Luann states she's asking because her ancestors are from the region.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have any particular tours there, and unfortunately, no. But then again, our guest services team can, of course, help you to get to the place where your ancestors are from. And, we always have the possibility to arrange for individual transfers from any port, to arrange for even individual local guides. So if this is what you would like to have, so don't hesitate to contact our onboard teams there for those particular wishes, and we will do whatever we can to fulfill your wishes.
Thank you. John S. from the United States asks, are reservations needed for meals?
No, they are not, John. You are just, it's very easy, very simple. You are just walking in, and it's open seating in our restaurant. And you are just walking into the restaurant, and you take a seat wherever it suits you, be it by the window on the one side or on the other side, or more in the middle part of the restaurant, and there's no reservation. This is sorry, to add, Brie, this is, of course, I'm talking for the river cruise ships. On the ocean ships, it's different. On the ocean ships, we do have outlets where reservations are needed. But I answered the question now for our river cruising vessels.
Thank you for clarifying.
Sure.
Carl in Buffalo asks, we are taking the late September Rhine cruise. Can we expect any Oktoberfest activities?
Hey, Carl. Well, on the Rhine, Oktoberfest is usually not that common. That would be more on the Danube area, where I'd say sailing or cruising through Bavaria or Austria, there could be some Oktoberfest activity. On the Rhine, I would not say so much, unless there could be something offered in Rudesheim. That, of course, could always be. Like Karine also mentioned earlier, Rudesheim is always good for some festivity part, or for some Oktoberfest or other part, entertainment part. Yeah. But it's not guaranteed.
Thank you. Mark in the United States asks, if I want to mail postcards home, how do I arrange this?
Oh, that's very simple, Mark. I mean, you are buying the postcards outside the ship in one of the cities you feel they have nice postcards that reflect what you have seen. And after you have written them, you can hand them in with our guest services team, and they will help you with the stamping part, and they will help you then also with the mailing out part. And there are also mailboxes at every port we are docking. So, but like I said, guest services will take care of that for you.
Lovely, thank you. Thomas in the United States asks a logistical question. They are sailing on the Holland and Belgium cruise and backing it up with the Rhine Getaway. They ask, we only have one day between the extensions where we need to get from Amsterdam to The Hague to start the extension for the second cruise. What are our options to go between Amsterdam and The Hague on our own?
Oh, the best way to travel in the Netherlands in general is by train. It's very simple, it's very easy. And there is also a direct train between Amsterdam and The Hague. So not a problem at all. And again, our hotel hosts, our Viking hotel hosts, they can help you with arranging this. So not a problem at all.
Thank you. Sally asks, can you tell us about the bus behind you? Is that a Viking bus?
Hi, Sally. You have a very sharp eye. Yes, this is, well, it is a model of one of the coaches we are using. And yes, it has a Viking ocean ship on the side of it. and it stands representative for many of our Viking branded coaches you find out there in the destinations. And as I'm responsible for land operations, I'm very proud of this model with our Viking ocean ship on it.
Thank you very much. We had another comment asking where they can send a pin for you to add to your jacket, a Viking pin.
Yes, also that I wear with pride. And if you want to send me one, just send it to the Basel office and I will put it just next to the Viking pin. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Question about our ship. Nancy in the United States asks, what is the difference between veranda A and B? And what is the difference between French balcony C and D? Also, is it possible to join the itinerary late or depart early?
Let's start with the latter part of the question. Of course, you can join an itinerary later or depart earlier if you really have to. I personally would not recommend it. And of course, you would then also need to arrange your own transportation. Of course, when it's departing earlier, we will help you on the ship to arrange the transportation from where you want to leave to where you want to go. But when it is joining later, you would really need to arrange your own transportation then to that port. And I just feel it would be a pity to miss out on any part of an itinerary. So that's why I would not recommend it. When it comes to the differences of the cabins there, I really think it makes most sense if you go on the website, because there it's really thoroughly explained what the different stateroom times are and what the features of those stateroom types are. So I think this is really the best source of information for comparing staterooms. I hope this is okay that I answer your question this way. So now I realize we have some silence. Are you still with us, Bree?
My apologies, I was muted there. Butch in the United States has a question asking, when we are off boat and go into a local restaurant, do we need reservations or do we have to place our order then sit down typically? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, that really depends on the type of the restaurant. Some restaurants on shore, they do require reservations, and others you can just walk in. Also there, our guest services team, our concierges on board, they can help you with that question, and they can help you select restaurants in the specific places where we are docking, and they will then also know, depending on the restaurant you select or you choose, if it requires a reservation or not, and they can then also, of course, help you with the reservation if a reservation is required.
Thank you. Randall in Honolulu asks, does Viking have enough shore time to take local classes, and will Viking Guest Services be able to set this up? Additionally, they ask, what is the best credit card to carry, Visa or MasterCard?
I think let's start with the latter part, Visa or MasterCard, it doesn't really matter. American Express is a credit card type that's not accepted everywhere over here in Europe, but Visa and Master, they are both accepted equally, I would say. Now, when it comes to shore time, we definitely allow a lot of shore time to explore the cities. That's what it is all about, regardless if you're sailing on the rivers or if you're sailing on the oceans. On the oceans, we're one of the cruise lines with the longest time in shore compared to our competitors. I'm not sure if I'm understanding the local classes part in the question. there I would need more clarification on what it is you're thinking of when you're talking about local classes. But of course, if we are docking for a full day, again, let's say in Cologne, or if we're docking for a half a day in Speyer, of course, if there are particular local classes you would have researched prior and you would like to visit, of course, we would need to make sure that they are offered exactly during that docking time, but then it would be able for you to visit them, of course.
Thank you. Richard in Brookings asks, we're booked on the Rhine Getaway with a pre-extension in Amsterdam in early April. Will an optional tour to Keukenhof be available?
Yes, absolutely, Richard. I mean, during April, Keukenhof is usually open, and whenever Keukenhof is open, we're also offering that on our extensions as an optional excursion. So you can look forward to that. Beautiful, Keukenhof is beautiful. And those tulips that you're going to find there in bloom, it's just, a very special experience.
Lovely. Charlene in the United States asks, we arrive in Amsterdam at noon. Will there be enough time to take a 1-hour canal cruise before our ship departs?
Absolutely, Charlene, that's possible. We are departing in the evening, so you will definitely be able to take a 1-hour canal cruise and get a little glimpse of those wonderful canals of Amsterdam. I personally, like I mentioned earlier, would recommend you to rather take an extension if you want to really explore the city, but a 1-hour canal cruise, you will get in on the arrival day if you arrive at noon. Yes.
Fantastic. A quick comment from Rosemary on Facebook who shares, we took this trip from Budapest to Amsterdam a few years ago. This was the most amazing journey we took on all our travels. Thank you, Viking.
Well, thank you, Rosemary. I agree, the Grand Euro is an outstanding itinerary. It's 2 weeks, so you really enjoy, all the different countries from Budapest via Austria, via Germany, all the way to the Netherlands. Happy to hear, and we're looking forward to welcome you on one of our other cruises. There are many, many more areas to explore, and which are wonderful to explore.
Thank you, Klaus. A few more questions. We have Kim in Rochester who asks, is there time to do both the included and optional excursions? And is there an additional cost for the optional excursions?
Hi, Tim. Yes, the optional excursions, they are offered at an additional cost. And yes, on most of the days, you can do both. Like I mentioned earlier, there are a couple of days where optional excursions are also offered parallel to included ones, but on most of the ports, you can book both. And optional excursions are at additional payment. I recommend, like I also said earlier, check it out on My Viking Journey. And there you can already, prior to your trip, get excited and book the optional excursions that speak to you. And so you can make your itinerary already more set.
Wonderful. Janine in the United States asks, I would like to know the Basel Viking address, as we would like to personally send a recommendation to the president for 3 individuals who are very helpful to us and extremely supportive and kind as well.
Excellent. I think we can make sure that you get that address sent to you, Charlene. Just send us an email or send me personally an email at klaus.schemminger@viking.com, and I can send you then the address. You can also send me the recommendation of your individuals. We're getting quite some emails on praise on our team members, and we're very, very proud of that, of course, and we're also always sharing those recommendations, the praise with our team members, and the recommendations we do take serious and also forward that to our onboard management.
Lovely.
So thank you for that, and happy you made very positive experiences with our onboard teams.
Thank you. Oren in the United States has a question. They're looking at booking a once-in-a-lifetime European river cruise. What do you think is the most scenic river to cruise?
The Rhine is a very scenic river, which I love a lot. What I also love a lot is, of course, the Main River. What I also love a lot when speaking about scenic is the Moselle, with very steep vineyards. So any of our cruises is wonderful. If you would ask me for the most scenic river scenes, I would probably say take the Cities of Lights. You're starting there in Prague with included 3 nights. You're then sailing from Bamberg on the Main River along the Rhine River a little bit until you then sail into the Moselle up to Trier, and then you're ending up in Paris. So that to me is a very fantastic itinerary as well.
Lovely. Another praise comment from Bruce in Vancouver. He shares they went on this tour in summer of 2022 and it was fantastic.
Happy to hear. Thanks for sharing this with us. And we're always happy to hear when you as our guests are excited. That's what it is all about.
Thank you. Final comments. We have Linda from the United States who asks, my husband and I are taking the 15-day European cruise on June 4th, 2023. Will there be a live stream on that cruise and when? And we happen to know that in a few weeks' time, we will be doing a live stream on the European sojourn, and they can tune in then. A final comment from Mary, who shares that they look forward to this trip and will be embarking in 1 week.
Excellent, excellent. Also, we are looking forward that you are embarking, and I wish you a great experience and enjoy your trip.
And that's all the questions we have time for. Thank you so much, Klaus.
Well, thank you. Thank you for all the questions. It was my pleasure to answer them all. And yes, all the best to you. And we're looking forward to see you all on one of our cruises in the coming months and years. Thank you very much. And my best regards from Basel out into the world.